blessings that he gives to us. But when he gives us those blessings, it is upon us to understand and recognize that whatever we've been given is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's from God. And that should take us towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so this next section, which we want to explain, where Imam Zain al-Abidin, he says, وَلَا تَمْكُرْنِي وَلَا تَمْكُرْ بِي فِي حِيلَتِكَ مِنْ أَيْنَ لِيَ الْخَيْرِ يَا رَبِّ. Subhanallah. Makr is something that we have heard in the Quran on several times. In several occasions, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he speaks about those who do makr, they plan, they plot, they scheme, they devise a scheme against, or they try to devise a scheme against Allah. Makru wa makru Allah, wallahu khayru makirin. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that they plan and they plot and they scheme, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he plans. And Allah is the best of planners. But there's a difference when that plot and that scheme, it comes from the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That plot and scheme that comes from the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is done with negative intentions. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when he says, that Allah, وَمَكَرَ اللَّهُ وَاللَّهُ خَيْرُ مَاكِرِينَ, it is not that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he's planning or he's plotting or he's scheming or he's creating something deviant against his creation, but rather the plan of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not to allow that plot and that scheme to trump over his power, over his will. Or at times he turns that plot and that scheme against the one who is plotting, the one who is doing that thing. And one of the, I think, perhaps perfect stories of that is that when the Pharaoh, when he was plotting to kill the eldest sons of the Bani Israel. And the story is in the Quran, it's also actually in the biblical text. It says that when he was planning to do this, he was plotting, he says, you know what, Moses is coming, he's giving this message, and so we want to, again, as a punishment, to destroy the eldest sons. But what happened is that the eldest sons of all of those who were in the camp of the Pharaoh, that they died. They fell ill, they fell sick, and they died. So Pharaoh made this makr or makra, and this is the example of makaru wa makar Allah wallahu khayru makirin. So makr, in a sense, is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's plan to destroy what is evil, what is wrong. In other words, to turn their plot back upon them. And at times, you can say that plan of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it may not come to fruition immediately. Meaning that he may not turn it back. Why? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, out of his mercy, out of his grace, he gives everyone time to return, time to repent, time to return back to him. But unfortunately, sometimes that we ourselves do not turn back to him. And this is why he says that, إِنَّهُمْ يَكِيدُونَ كَيْدًا وَأَكِيدُ كَيْدًا فَمَهِّلِ الْكَافِرِينَ أَمْهِلْهُمْ رُوَيْدًا. He says that they plot and they plan and they scheme. They plot and they plan evil. He says, but we also have our plan as well. But in that plan of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he says, give them a moment. Yes, perhaps they are doing wickedness now and evil, but give them a moment that perhaps they may change. That perhaps from the blessings that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us, or perhaps from the difficulties that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala shows them in their life, that they may turn back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they may turn back to God and worship and be the obedient servant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So, فَمَهِّلِ الْكَافِرِينَ أَمْهِلْهُمْ رُوَيْدًا. Just give them a moment. But of course, if they don't turn back, then their end is doomed. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he also mentions that, or this idea and this concept of sometimes our nature as human beings when we do this type of makr or we do this type of deception. And he says that the only people, the only person that those individuals are deceiving are themselves. They're not deceiving Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They're only deceiving themselves. In Surah Yunus, verse 21, where Allah subhanahu wa says, وَإِذَا أَذَقْنَا النَّاسَ رَحْمَةً مِّن بَعْدِ ضَرَّاءٍ مَسَّتْهُمْ إِذَا لَهُمْ مَكْرٌ فِي آيَاتِنَا قُلِ اللَّهُ أَسْرَعُ مَكْرًا إِنَّ رُسُلَنَا يَكْتُبُونَ مَا تَمْكُرُونَ. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says that there were people, and according to the tafsir, it says that this is about the people of Mecca, that in that Meccan stage where Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he was delivering the message of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to believe in La ilaha illallah, to believe in one God, to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and remove polytheism. There was a point where there was a drought. The drought was 7 years. So some of the Meccans, they came to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Again, it was a Mecca, it was a plot. They were saying, oh, well, let's see, if he claims that he's a prophet, then have him to pray that this drought is lifted and it rains. So the Prophet of Allah, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he prayed to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and it rained abundantly. And this is that rahmah where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he says, وَإِذَا أَذَقْنَا النَّاسَ رَحْمَةً. And when we allowed people a taste of the mercy of God, that after 7 years of drought, now it is raining, and it's raining in a manner which they never seen it rain like that in this area. So when they taste that rahmat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, min ba'di dharra, after they went through this difficulty, so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is trying to turn them towards Him. They had this test, they had this difficulty. As we mentioned, that some of the difficulties in our lives are for us to return back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And also the rahmah. So this is the two types of tarbiyah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So after they had received that rahmah, that mercy, that lutf of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, مَسَّتْهُمْ إِذَا لَهُمْ مَكْرٌ فِي آيَاتِنَا. Once it came down, then they were like, they didn't believe. They went to the Prophet and said, oh, well, he says that he's connected to the creator of the heavens and the earth, this universe. So let's request him to pray, and the God of the heavens and the universe should make it rain, remove this drought. He did, and it happened, but then once it happened, they refused to believe. They refused to believe. And this is the makr of mankind. One of the things that unfortunately sometimes maybe, God forbid that we fall into this type of trap. We may have a need from God, a need from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we pray to God that, God, that, I'm in this difficulty, help me out. When you help me out, I won't have any doubt. I'll be very devout. And then God, He gives us that blessing. But what happens after that? Does it increase our faith, our iman? Does it increase our obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Or do we go back to this point where we are like we were before? Half remembering God, half, in and out of, our obedience, our devotion. Or is it that when we receive that blessing, that rahmah, that gift from God that we prayed for, that makes our iman, our faith, that much stronger? That makes our devotion that much stronger. That makes our prayer that much more. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He's pointing out this kind of, unfortunately, sometimes this psychology of man. We prayed, we got what we needed. Once we got what we needed, it's like, okay, I'll not pray for something until I need something again. Whereas if we took that tarbiyah, that training from God, that once we receive that blessing, then we thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala profusely, and we never forget Him. We receive that blessing, and it makes us, again, show up at the masjid, or we have our Christian brothers here, or show up at the church, or show up in that place in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is worshipped, which God is worshipped. But if we get that thing and then, there's no need for me to go anymore, then we really haven't benefited from that blessing from God. And we've actually created this plot or this plan, or, not necessarily a plot, but we fall into that same type of category. So that part of the dua where Imam Zayn al-Abidin, he says, وَلَا تَمْكُرْ بِي فِي حِيلَتِكَ. If you want to get a nice translation of that, it says, so do not leave me to my desires while you shower me with blessings, and I'm disobedient. And do not subject me to your planned strategy. And what is that planned strategy? What is that thing? That comes from, if we want to understand it very thoroughly, like one of the beautiful and very short du'as that we have. And it comes actually in a lot of other du'as where the Prophet or even the Ahlul Bayt, they say, Ilahi la takilni ila nafsi tarafata aynin abada. That never leave me to myself, even for a moment. Because a part of that, when we say that makr wa makr Allah, it says that when Allah plans, then that means that He leaves you in that state, that unfortunate state, that He blesses you, He gives you. Because if you look at the rahmat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it is so great that even those who don't believe in God, a person who's an atheist, Allah has blessings for them. And what is that? Their life, their ability to take a breath, their ability to eat, to sustain themselves. All of this is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. All of it is from God. But unfortunately, they're in this state of, you could say, of heedlessness. And they're in that state in which, at that point, that, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Summun bukmun umyun fahum la yu'minun, that they don't hear anything. They don't even hear the guidance from God. And their end is destruction. Their end is hellfire. And this is why Imam Ali alayhi hafiz, he says about those individuals who make plots, again, who may receive those blessings from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or even they plot negatively. He says, لا يحيق المكر السيء إلا بأهله. He says that those who plot and plan evil, the only people that it hurts are themselves. And either it will hurt them in this world where, again, we see what sometimes those individuals who plant evil, they reap that evil. And if it hasn't hurt them in this world, in the next world, in the akhirah, that they've come to that akhirah, that day of judgment with nothing good. No good deeds. Nothing to be blessed by in that eternal life. And so therefore, as the dua, it continues that we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, one, not to guide us through that punishment. And also to saying that if you bless us and you guide us to you and towards you by answering our prayers, by giving us those gifts, by giving us those things we want, don't make us heedless of that. Don't make it as a thing that, oh, I prayed for it, I got it, and then therefore I forgot you. Ya Allah. It says, من أين لي الخير يا رب ولا يوجد إلا من عندك. Any good that I have in my life, where is it from? Except from you. Oh God. Even our ability, even our understanding of the value of prayer, where have we got this from? We didn't create it ourselves. This is because God, He sent to us prophets, messengers. He sent the revelation to us so that we can understand the value of prayer. The value of everything that is good in this life, in this world, and everything that is good in the next life, in the next world. That if there's something that I have that is good, it's from you, Allah. And this is one of the things that we pray for on the 11th day of Ramadan. It's very beautiful. So each day of Ramadan has a dua that's related to it. Very short dua. And on the 11th day, that dua begins, Allahumma habib ilayya fihi al-ihsan. That, oh Allah, that in this day, but this, again, although this day, that dua is recited on that day, but these are duas that we should keep for every day of our life. It is something to build our spiritual strength and character with. It says, oh Allah, habib ilayya fihi al-ihsan. To Allah, in this day, on with this. And this is one of the individuals who, a very simple person. Again, in other words, he wasn't someone who went and he studied theology, but he was a person who, again, connected to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And one of the ulama says that, he knew this person. He was a cobbler, someone who fixed shoes. And, lived in a city wasn't too religious, but he always protected his gaze. He didn't, he didn't engage in anything which was, doubtful. And so then one day he decided, well, you know what, I want to go to Qom. And I'll go to Qom and I'll begin some, not hawza lessons, but simply some lessons on how to spiritually perfect myself. But mashallah, I reached to this point where, I don't have any of these temptations. And he was a young man, so no temptations of going towards anything which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he forbids. So he started going to Qom. He connected with one of the great scholars. And so once he connected one of these great scholars, he began to refine himself on this path of spirituality. At that point, he began to notice that, before I was okay. I didn't have these temptations. They didn't exist. But now that I started this, and so he came back to the scholar. He was like, SubhanAllah, 2 weeks ago I was fine. I didn't feel any temptation for anything. But as soon as I started this, the classes with you and these lessons, he was like, now I feel it difficult and I have to really restrain myself. And so the scholar told him, he says, alhamdulillah, he says, that's the way it's supposed to be. He was like, what do you mean? He was like, before I didn't have those temptations, but now I have to fight myself? He says, yes. He says, before you weren't a threat to Satan. He didn't care about you. You were just living your ordinary day-to-day life. He says, but now that you're trying to spiritually purify yourself and connect to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on a much higher level, he says, this is when now Satan, he feels that threat from you. Why? Because if you connect to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on that very high level, then what will happen? Not only will you purify yourself and you will be a godly person, but you will be an example for others. You'll be an example that what is the ni'mat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? What is that connection that we should have from Him? And so he told me, he says that, He's coming after you because you're trying to purify yourself now. He says, but if you stay the course, you maintain the course, and again, and you fight him, he says, at that point he will leave. He will understand that he has no path towards you. You have no path towards you. I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He gives us all this qurb and closeness to Him in this blessed month of Ramadan, that may we purify ourselves, may we learn from the lessons that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is trying to teach us. And as Imam Zayn al-Abidin alayhi salatu wasalam, he prays in this dua, Ilahi la tu'adibni bi'uqubatik, wa la tamkurni fi hilatik. That we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that for Him not to guide us through those difficult trials, that again He makes our path to Him an easy path. In other words, give us the strength to weather through any trial and any difficulties, and any blessing and ni'mah that He gives us, let us not be heedless of Him once we receive those blessings. اللهم اغفر ذنوبنا واستر عيوبنا واقضي حوائجنا واشف مرضانا وارحم امواتنا وعجل فرج مولانا صاحب العصر والزمان واجعلنا من اعوانه وانصاره والمستشهدين بين يديه وتحت لواء بحق محمد واله الطاهرين. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. we'll get ready for Salat, inshallah.
Yeah, I'll just. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن أشهد أن عليا ولي الله. أشهد أن عليا حجة الله. حي على الصلاة، حي على الصلاة.